I went to see Matteo Mancuso, as you know. It's the dawn of the twink. That's my realization. It was amazing. He's an amazing boy. He plays great. We had a lot of fun. Me and Nick had a great mandate, and I thought, wouldn't it be wild if like his bassist and drummer fly after this sold-out tour back to Italy?
Well, we're all friends, aren't we?
Yeah.
Fly.
And they all fly back together to, what's the name of the town they're from? Palermo, Sicily. And they tell the other guys that they know, like, Luigi, Mamma Mia, people in America, they love the jazz fusion. We should start bands and fly to America and take all their money. And then they come.
Kind of like the Dagestanis with UFC.
Yeah. And then they come to America and find out what it's like when you don't bring Matteo. That would be amazing. But yeah, it was an experience.
I'm wondering if he knows that fat bass player.
Federico?
Yeah.
Malaman?
Yes.
Yeah, probably. I mean, I'm guessing
So sad. He's so good at bass. And it's like, what? The fat bass player.
Yeah.
Especially because they're all fat.
You think he didn't make it because he was too fat? That's crazy with bassists.
What? That's not what I said.
Oh.
I said it's sad
that
that's where I think I go to explain to you what I'm talking about.
Well, I mean, that's just natural at the show. One of the main things that really me and Nick, and I'm speaking for you, I think we enjoyed the most was that, like, after he introduced himself, every time he talked, he was like I come from Sicilia, I come from Palermo to play fusion for you Americanos, and then people in the audience would just like call out like, Buongiorno, Mamma Mia, pizza, like they should have Italian accents. And we're all just like, oh my, it's like, doesn't matter. It's like, welcome to fucking America. It doesn't matter how good you get at music. To us, you're just an Italian with a funny accent.
After a standing ovation.
Yeah, after a standing ovation. Amazing, pizza! That's just, dude, that shit made me proud to be here. That was great vibes. But yeah, so it made me realize that this boy figured out something that we all just missed. He's like, it's like the Matrix, and he's Neo of Instagram. He just shows up, play with his fingers, get 1 million views with his phone, and go home to mama.
It's just hard to deny how impressive it is to watch it.
Yeah, at a few times at the show, I was closing my eyes, and I was thinking, like, listening to the lines, and I was just like, it sounds like a mixture of, like, Guthrie and, like, Greg Howe, and also something, like, you know, of his, like, something in, it makes you play a certain way. So it's like he has like pathways through the fretboard that are his own, and it's really cool. But then I was just like, but it's like with your eyes closed, and then I was just like, why am I closing my eyes? I'm at a show, like, you know what I mean? Like, look at it, it's like, it looks fucking crazy.
Yeah, because you're looking to find chinks in the armor.
Yeah, I really wasn't. Honestly, like, I was there to have a good time, and I feel like I'm not denying that, like, there are two levels where this is upsetting, you know what I mean? Because, like, one is like the level of the playing itself, where I was, you know, I was telling Nick, like, I'm happy I'm not 20, because if I was a younger version of myself, I'd go home and mess with it
for like a couple of months.
Yeah, and like just go, like, I'd be inspired by it. But like for me, like, I know who I am. I know what I want to do with music. That doesn't faze me. I'm actually like, he sounds great. He figured a lot of shit out. Happy for him. The one thing that was crazy is seeing somebody have this sort of dream of playing fusion at like 20 and change, like 21, 22-year-old, show up to a new country, go on tour and sell out every show. First time you're playing the cities. Mostly old. Mostly like the Holdsworth Henderson kind of crowd, like, you know what I mean? Like a ponytail and like there's like 5 hairs that still are on the head.
But Nick, did you see like young people?
There was, I would say, like 95% the ponytail guys, and then like the rest of the 5% were like, you know, my age or maybe like a little younger.
Guitar.
Like clearly guitar player guys.
Okay.
Yeah, there were, but I mean, I think.
But it wasn't. But if you go to Cory Wong's show, like
It's all young people.
it's all young people when we went in Santa Cruz.
Right.
We didn't go to the show, but we played in Santa Cruz and we saw him also playing.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just that's what I was curious about because it's. And you didn't get recognized there all the time. At least you said a few times.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah.
Did you know anybody there?
No. I was introduced to this one guy and this,
Who?
this guy, like a lot of people come, a few people come, it's like, Danny, do you know this guy? This is like, dude, I don't know you. It's like, who are you? He was like, introduced me to the table. So yeah, it was like, this is Marco. He really shreds. His name was Marco, I remember. And he just looked like, all the people that are the generation above us look like Boleto in different weights. Just like a brownish man with long hair, you know, and he was kind of heavier. But yeah, there's, I could tell that he was
Where's
like,
Boleto from?
I want to say Bolivia, but I feel like it's just because it sounds like Boleto.
Boleto, you know, it means ticket in Spanish. So I just thought, you are a ticket. We have put in everything we got, and you're sounding like Alan Holdsworth.
Yeah.
Get at it.
Yeah. But yeah, it was an
Like tokens.
So I mean, it was an interesting experience because it's like for me, I just remember because they were playing some shit that like literally everybody plays, right? Like they're playing Chicken, they're playing Havana, they're playing.
That's in Cuba, by the way.
They're playing another
Fred.
Yeah. So like fusion, just like the shit that everybody.
Why did they name it Fred?
I think it's a Tony Williams song.
Yeah. I don't know who Fred is.
Fred is his boyfriend.
Yeah, I was going to say, okay.
Yeah. But and he used to date Freddie Mercury. Little known fact. And then yeah, he would bang him polyrhythmically, and then he's like, boom, yeah, yeah. But that's a business insider story.
You have to be a part of the music industry like us to know.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, after
We tell you all the secrets.
after Tony Williams,
I saw the first like 10-15 minutes of a Cat Williams thing on Shannon Sharp. It's like I do want to come here and just destroy
people,
and just make up stuff.
Yeah.
Did you see it?
I saw some.
Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I like how he. It felt like us. It felt like.
It felt like, you know, it felt like Larry David has the thing of like, oh, I say things I shouldn't be saying, and then this guy like, I told him in the contract he has to wear a dress because he can't play a man. And I was like, oh my god. If he ever in the same studio as me, he has to be in a dress. I'm like, Jesus.
That's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess the interesting thing was just that somebody could like get to a new country at the age of like, you know, at a very early age, play the same shit everybody plays.
That's not.
You know, but it's the same songs, I mean, the same repertoire, and just have this reaction. And I get it because, like, for me, that's the thing about technique, like when you're actually different technically and are, you know, do it in a way that, I mean, the way he's putting together music obviously plays a huge role in this and is appealing to people, and it's coming from the Guthrie school, which I feel like is the main shred influence, the predominant one that bled over to the next generation.
He's more like us in the sense, or like you, that he comes from a lot of the shredder guys, but he obviously also is a jazz guy.
You know, a little bit less than I thought. Like me and Nick were different. Like, you know, we were listening like at song 3, you already really see the scope of what he can do, and then it's a reshuffling of those things, and it's true. Like I know that that's true for everybody, but the slivers of music that he's improvising with
I understand
are
what you
way
mean.
longer, right? So it's like he has like a few techniques, and you're hearing the same arrangement of. I mean, it's crazy to see every time, but I think a lot of people like the drive to go see a show. Unlike a Corey Wong show where people want like a fun dance party and like Gilbert Gottfried humor, this is the appeal here is just to see it with your own eyes. And I get it because I wanted it too. Like, ooh, is that a transaction on Shopify? My God, can we start beating off every time I hear it? That's amazing.
Start.
Yeah.
I'm fully erect right now. What
By
are
the
you
way,
talking
we
about?
have free samplers, but
Beating off.
Okay, yeah, keep going. You're doing great.
marketing in between, man.
Yeah, that was really
Don't
smooth
you-
transition. Go ahead.
Don't you know about marketing?
Yeah.
No, but there's a real drive to see it with your own eyes.
Yeah,
and it's immediate. I know, like you.
there is a question of, because we have, if I take something that you do a lot, is you do the fast right hand chords and kind of move it.
Yeah, but nobody cares about it.
Oh, that's not the point. Or like I do some stuff with our pages, I have a few things, but it's true that it's small enough that we just improvise with the tool. It's not a section that we know.
Yeah, I mean, I think there was a thing like coming out of classical music where the public was like, you can just make music up.
Yes.
You know what I mean? They were just like, how do they do it? Did they, like, you know, there's a part of the early appeal of jazz was just like, this was an unbelievable thing. But now we have institutions that teach you how to improvise, and the whole, and it's like, you know, everybody, there's no romanticism about it. Like, you know, you tell somebody that was an improvised solo, they're like, okay.
Well,
and,
I don't think you're right. I think that if it's in live, it makes a difference. The difference, I think that online it doesn't, because we don't know if you took one take or 1,000 takes.
yeah. And I think that's a big part too of his allure, and that he's surrounded by a Zoomer generation, people who can't execute what they put out live.
Yes,
and a
correct.
big part of it is like seeing it.
If you can do it.
Seeing if you can do it.
And
Which
he
he
can.
for sure can.
I think he has. There is a type of player like him and Michael Brecker, for example, is another person that they're just so impressive. And Michael Brecker, it's amazing because I love a lot of stuff about him, but he's definitely not my favorite player.
Mm-hmm.
To me, like Sonny Stitt at the top, I would like to be that more than I would like to be Michael Brecker, but it's still there is something that I know that I don't have. It's like this effect, and to see it with somebody young, it's like it's just been so long since somebody had it.
Yes,
You know,
it really has
that,
been.
that you see it and you're just like, oh my god, it's so impressive.
So what I was gonna say, from the perspective of a guitarist, I know you would get it less, but there are people moving in parallel on social media, like, you know, what's another guy, the Australian guy, Josh Meter, and like, you know, a few other players that, like, from the perspective of like watching somebody's fingers move on a fretboard and the sounds that they're getting, and they all did very similar things in terms of like transcription of the most intense
He said he's going to
music.
subscribe my soul, if you remember.
I
Josh
did.
Meter.
Yeah, then he became too famous. It was
I
like
think
right
that
when he
happened.
exploded.
Oh, it was just before.
But again, you know, but they were all exploding at a similar rate. But then, like, Matteo just became 20 times bigger than all of them, right? It's just like,
To me, Josh Meter doesn't have it. It's like I'm not saying, but to me, Josh Meter doesn't have a thing that.
but he does
you-
have it in the guitar world, because it's like it looks different enough and it sounds different enough, and he has pathways through the fretboard that are new and produces things you didn't really hear before in that way, like a few new techniques, a few exciting
Well,
kind of
I think
things.
what I do is also impressive, but I don't. That's not.
What
the
you
main
do, though,
thing.
is not translatable via a camera on social media to impress a community of saxophonists
Yes.
in an immediate way. And
Yeah.
what all of these guys that I'm talking about did have that.
You're
like,
saying that Josh Meter does like have the same effect as Matteo to some people.
to guitarists. There are a few others that like came up with like you know, niche kind of things. But then his thing, like, just, you know, people just want to be finger banged.
Because it's also people that are not guitarists that can see it. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's very big and it's very obvious. And
even though the guitar players are the ones gonna pay, they're not necessarily only the ones who are gonna share it.
yeah, but I mean, it did make me realize that right now we're undergoing a
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Why is there only one line?
We're recording with the lavaliers, it doesn't matter.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
that's the shotgun as a backup.
Okay, cool.
So what I was saying is right now we're experiencing a reconsolidation of the guitar audience, and we came up in an era where fusion was rejected definitely by the rock world. It just had no place. Scott
Also by the
Henderson,
jazz world.
Schofield, I know, and by the jazz world. Like the jazz world didn't like the sound of it. The rock world just was like not going to have jazz. It's like what's the value of a show, and in those days the machine of marketing and the machine of money. And the machine of just like, you know, making the opportunity, making the music itself were kind of tied. And now like there's a splitting off and there's a huge machine of marketing, like, you know, Beato's channel and like all the other smaller YouTubers and Bonamassa audience, to where there's a new audience for, it's not even a new audience, it's just like mostly boomer guitar people that have no affiliation with jazz or fusion, that are just like the people that purchase things from Sweetwater and Guitar Center, that make those things billion-dollar companies, which are a lot of people who accept a new batch of heroes that's ordained by this new media, you know, and I think those people now, it's weird because there's a really high buy-in, like you don't see Beato finding guys on Instagram with 10,000 likes or something like that and bringing them on because he really loves their playing. Even though there's like a lot of people that I'm sure he really would love their playing, but he's taking people who are like skyrocketing or exploding on their own and magnifying it. And in that sense, it's not very different than the model of like signing bands.
I think Joe Rogan in a lot of ways the same, because it's not, you would have an anthropologist, but it's not the only anthropologist in the world.
Right, it's a guy who wrote a book who's doing really well.
Who's doing really well, or something interesting that's going on currently. It's not researching, hey, Jamie, find me the best anthropologist and let's have an interview with 10 of them decided to bring on.
Right.
So yeah, it's kind of the same thing. It's like you have to pop up, and then if you pop up and those people notice you, if they like it, they're gonna pick you up.
But it's just crazy that like YouTubers have basically YouTube channels have taken the place of PR companies of like at the high level.
Well, they took a place of all the magazines. Like when we talked to Jimmy Haslip, he said that their first album was on whatever Jazz Times or whatever magazine was at the time, and we sold 75,000 copies because that's how it used to be. You record an album, and then
you get a good enough review, and people go buy it to check it out. Yeah. Buy it to listen to.
But by the time we were here already, we got a ton of reviews. We were really good. We made those awesome envelopes with the cover of our first album, and we just sent it out. And you cannot, because like you cannot refuse to open this. It looks so cool.
Right.
And they did, and we got a lot of reviews. But it's just like, those reviews have zero visitors.
Value. Yeah.
Like nobody watches them.
Yeah. I mean, why would you? What's the difference between a review and a Facebook post? At this point, it's the same shit. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, so I'm saying like the hard part of the experience is like if you were to compare, like the way we started touring in our 20s. You know, and like when we first met, like we were playing like Schofield covers and shit like that before we wrote music for a minute.
That stopped very quickly though.
I know, but like I'm saying, we were attempting to like just play normal fusion, but the amount nobody gave a shit is incredible. You know, we had a very different path through music, but again, you know, it's like I have no regrets. It was an amazing time.
I think, I told you that when talking on the phone, I think it's similar to what happened to jazz in the 80s, what happened to us, that everybody was sick of jazz in the 80s. and all the traditional jazz people from back then, even people that won 20 Grammys, were not really accepted into the canon of jazz. The way some people that came after them, it started coming back in the 90s with Chris Porter and Ron Wickel, but the people in the 80s, it's like nobody came back to check them out.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that it's going to happen to us because we're obviously still fighting, but it's...
Well, we don't have a chance right now. It's like we're Israeli. Everybody knows it. It's just, it's way better to be Italian right now.
We also exploded, which is also bad, but we already exploded a little bit.
Yeah.
So it doesn't feel like to people, those people...
Yeah, it's not fresh.
Look at this fresh new thing.
Yeah. But again, people have been seeing him for for a lot of years now. It's been on social media for a long time, but it's just this thing of coming out of social media into the world. You see people, all these people that amass an audience, like, it's amazing how much, like, his first song sounded like it was just lifted from a Scott Henderson album, like note per note. And all the people in the audience know Scott Henderson. But there's no way in hell Scott Henderson can play that room and sell a quarter of those tickets.
Yes.
He can barely fill the small room at Reggie's.
Yeah.
This guy was sold out City Winery. So it's a different thing. Like now, like they just have, through these platforms, I mean, it's incredible. They just have like this direct line to the customer.
But if it's the boomers, then it's still weird to me.
I don't think it would have been the boomers. I think it just sold out. I think they were just quicker about it. I think if they didn't buy it, somebody else would. I think it would have sold. I think if you played 3 nights, it would have sold out City Winery all 3 nights.
I don't know if you're right, because if it was like that, we would have done another show.
I think he had to go home to Mama.
I can do another show. I don't know if you're right.
Yeah.
Like he didn't.
No, it was a really short tour. He barely played. How many shows did he play, Nick?
It was, it seemed like it was like something like 5 shows in California and 1 in Chicago.
Yeah, just to come here to NAMM and just do Rick Beato and a bunch of interviews. Came really short.
Yeah, maybe we're gonna do a bigger American tour after.
No, they're for sure going to do it. Whoa.
What time is it?
We gotta go to the masterclass soon, but not that soon.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, that shit was
it's interesting
crazy.
to me. I didn't. It's the first guy that also does in some ways what we do. So he doesn't really do what we do because our music is very different, and it makes our playing, like it gives a very different context. So I can see why somebody would have to buy in more with us than with him. But it's still the closest to what we did. Like when people like Snarky Puppy...
It's not though. It's not close to us. Like
I don't know. I didn't see the show.
We have, like, he's playing, like they are a fusion band and he is just selling to people. Like he says, Nick told me that, like he says that his music can't be categorized.
Yeah, he said it in the Beato thing.
Well, it's because it's a child.
Yeah,
that's why.
It's fusion.
That.
Yeah, but it's.
Well, we saw a band. I remember, like an amateur band that was touring locally in Pennsylvania, and they opened for us, and they said all the stuff about, like, they cross genre, and it sounded just like Rage Against the Machine.
Yeah.
It's like, okay. we cross between Bulls on Parade and and Killing the Neighbors.
But so it was like, it was his impression of what fusion is, which is, you know what I mean? Like it didn't feel like, even like in the tunes he wrote, like one of them was very Scott Henderson, one of them was very Metheny. You know, they all had like a lot of, you know, that kind of Tigran vibe, with like the odd meters and the hits. It was really clear what he was cherry picking from, but he had like that thing that like Ricardo, the guy that I have on my channel, has, which is the power of foreigner fusion, where they get to cherry pick the very best, most obvious parts from Tribal Tech and leave all the garbage behind. Like
that's what we do.
Yeah, like no synths, no that, but like, but you know, unlike us, it seems like he really has a lot of love for the style. Like a lot of the piano players, a lot of the, like, you know what I mean? Like we really had stronger versions to, like.
Well, we didn't want to make music in that vein.
Well, I mean, what fusion album do you listen to beginning to end?
I don't listen to any fusion.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying.
Some breaker once in a while, but
From beginning to end,
No,
the whole
no,
album thinking it's good.
No.
Yeah, I think he likes fusion, the style. I think guys like him listen to like a Chick Corea band album and think it's great. You know, for me, like, you know, I've always liked elements in the music. Like some fusion solos are my favorite solos in history, and something about the relationship between the drums and the soloist seemed the most right. Something about how solos build, something about the guitar tone. So like generalities that exist in the music, but I've always had this feeling about like an album that it's like put together all wrong since I was a kid. I never liked, like the things I liked, like as a real child, when I mean, honestly, my taste in music was way worse. Like, you know, it was Greg Howe albums and shit like that, where it was just like a long guitar solo that's like blown my mind. But like the moment I started caring about melodies, I was just like, I don't know about this. Maybe the closest is like Pat Metheny group records. I felt like were extremely well put together, you know, and like coherent with not a lot of like just waste of time sections and weird sounds.
Those are good songs.
Good songs. I'm not saying that like I hate every song or something like that, but like I can't think of fusion albums that I like beginning
fusion,
to end.
especially guitar fusion, like, you know, Scott Anderson, and he hates writing songs. He says it, and Alan Hawthorne too. Like, it's not really.
Yeah.
Like I don't hear a song in there.
Yeah, I mean it's not the way that we define it for sure. But so yeah, what I'm saying, I think he does love fusion, and like in a sense, like he's just trying to put together a fusion show. You know what I mean? Like we were more like in our own journey of songwriting.
Yeah.
You know, that and that really was the dominant thing. And again, you know, I don't know, I listen to our music and I just fucking love it. So I'm good. I'm like when I listen to our catalog and like, you know, the way we play, it's like, you know, it's honestly, like looking back, I feel very like no regrets whatsoever. It was all done like the best we could at the time, you know, at every step.
Yeah. No, I'm fine with it too.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, certainly, I'm very curious to see what happens next.
This generation also has. There's no nice way to say it, but this generation has a big advantage over us that we came before our videos. Snarky Puppy were the first one that understood that you need to do videos.
Yeah.
In our world.
Yeah. And
it's also, we understood something that we just understood. You guys just understood it, but I was talking about too. But you guys really understood it, that you can't just put cameras on and it's a video.
No, you think about every frame.
Yeah, like our videos, we don't really have good videos.
Right.
Like King Size the 2 are the closest, but it's not like that great.
No.
It just came out a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
So there was none of that. So we got on tour, and the people we played with over years had to be people that are willing to go on tour for not a lot of money and dog out.
Yeah.
And I think people like Munkuzo and all the new guys, since everything is at home, we're just getting the best players around kind of in the scene. Because why not?
Sure. And then you go.
And then if you don't make it, it's fine. And if you make it and you get some shows, you just bring them. Yeah. But you basically don't, like we decided that we're gonna, very early, that we're gonna play shows no matter, and we're gonna figure out no matter what. And it's like if we don't lose money, basically, well, it was worth it. That's how we started. We were like, okay, if we're not losing money, we're paying everybody, we're paying for the van, we're paying for, our food, we're paying for the gas, the oil changes, and we went for a month or 2 months, and we came back and we'll, even if we have like $200 each, it was worth it because we didn't spend any money, which we would if we just stayed in Chicago, and we played shows and we sold CDs and we made connections, and it'll be better next time. And that's what we did, and it was. Like it did work the way we said it's gonna work.
Right.
And I told you, I see it now when we talk about where to play, and we got with people who want to bring us in Garden City in Kansas, and then I have a place in Kingstown. I don't know the name of it.
Yeah.
Also in Kansas, and like all those places, like, oh man, I can see it so easily how I can make everything a tour.
Right.
Like I can easily, we can easily go back right now and do like the tours which we used to do.
Sure.
And so it did work this way, but yeah, but it made it that musically we had to do things very differently. It had to be grounded in touring.
Yes.
So I guess that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. I mean, it's the compromise of the quality of players that you're hiring. I think that's what you're talking about. Is just something real. So completely depends on the kind of situation.
It's the quality and the fit. So it's not just the quality; it's also the fit.
Yeah. No, we had to. I mean, for sure. Like every time you look for like a new drummer or a new bassist, it's like
Especially a new drummer.
You know, because it's like it's not only like you're not shopping for the best guy around. You're shopping for the best guy around that's going to, like, once they realize what the gig is, still want the gig.
Yeah.
You know, it's a very specific person. You know, it's not luxurious. You gotta either really love the music or really love being on the road. You know.
You need to really like both if you want to make it.
That's true, and also be in a point in your life where you're open to the idea of adventure. Like if that doesn't have any allure to you, then you're gonna have a hard time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
If you're trying to make it like a job.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm just coming, I'm a professional and I'm coming and I'm clocking in and clocking out, and if that's what you're doing, it's like you're not gonna like that. That's not the type of environment you're in.
No, but I do think that like looking at, let's say, the show that we saw, like I wouldn't advise people to go see us play 2 nights in a row. You know what I mean? I think if you see one show of ours every, I don't know, few months, that's probably enough of us. You don't need to see our show night after night.
Some people do, but...
Yeah, people do, some people enjoy it. But I will say that I think you would appreciate how different...
It is from night to night.
Like, for us, we are the type of players that are committed to a concept of improvisation that is fundamentally different than, like, you know, how Mancuso does it. And it's like he is improvising too, but it's a smaller vocabulary and everything is worked out. So it's like you sacrifice at the fringes. It's more like you execute things you have complete technical control over all the time without taking any real risks. You're not going to figure something out, and we put ourselves in a more compromised position all the time in every solo. Like you search for the edge of your technique, you search for the edge of your idea, and you really are, like, you know, at this continuous process of looking for what else you could do or new ways you can put it together. And, you know, it's more like if you sound 10% sloppier in a way, but on a good night you can get to like a different kind of place. Like you can get to a place where you're excited about your shit. And I think that's, for me, if there was anything missing in that show, and like, you know, I likened it to getting finger banged, because it really holds up, that like you imagine that there's some...
So anal glands?
Yeah, this is my anal glands. I'm going like that. And you imagine that there's some girth missing. You know what I mean? And it is like there's a heaviness to the show missing, like this thing that people bring that, like, you know, Charlie Parker, Sonny Stitt, Coltrane, like the real heavy people, Oscar Peterson, just drive it all the way home. That didn't happen to me. You know, it was very stimulating. It was cool to see like people excited about fusion. It was cool to hear him, but I never got to that place where he wasn't excited about it. You know what I mean?
Like that?
Like that's what I feel. I feel like he was excited about being there. It was a high energy. He's happy to be successful.
How was
he's happy.
banter between the songs?
Non-existent. In Italian, but you know, you can tell that he's very happy with what he's achieved and it's amazing, but in the playing, you know, he's into it, but it doesn't get.
It's in the execution. It's execution mindset. Yeah.
But it's perfect.
Not in the
you know?
making. No, it's executing, not making up. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
it.
just like not that thing where you chase the idea and you're willing to let go of the safety net to rein in. And like again, that's not something that like I think people. Anything you say about like really delicate topics in music, people misconstrue it immediately because they try, like if they lack the experience of doing it, they fill up the gaps with their imagination. So I'm not saying that you should try to fall on your face as hard as you can when you're playing solos. That's wrong too. But there are these nights, there are these moments where you sort of wake up at the instrument and you realize that you're really driving the car. You know what I mean? And all of a sudden, like you see this new way of doing something that's just like, I can go here. And then like there'll be an instinct that'll be like, yeah, but you might crash. And then you know, at those moments, I feel like the men get separated from the boys in the sense that you should always go there and you know that a lot of times you're going to crash.
Yeah, it does happen, yeah.
It's like a lot of times it's just going to be like, fuck. And then that's you know, that's solo, you know, whatever, you recover, but it's not going to be like one of those moments that's like really a meaningful musical moment. But sometimes it lands, and that makes it all worth it. And I think that's
sometimes even if it doesn't land, you go home and you kind of figure stuff out around it, which happens a lot.
Right. So I think that's what I'm talking about, and that's the thing that I feel like if he becomes the kind of player that can allow himself to go to those places, it would be a fundamentally different show. You know what I mean?
We'll see, still young.
Yeah.
What time is it?
We need to go teach a fucking clinic. Let's do it.
Teach the youth, baby.
Sampler. We have free samplers on our Shopify. Just check out the Shopify. We have so many designs.
So many cool stuff, and we're gonna update it a lot. Oh, and we have a code. Podcast 15.
Podcast 15, all capital, and that gives you a discount for podcast listeners. So thank you for hanging out, and we'll see you soon.